Hey,
Live streaming is on.
we are getting ready to get started here. So, today we're going to approach anger a little bit differently than we have. We've approached it every which way there is to approach it. Anger's anger. But I do want to tell you guys something, and if I don't have anybody online right now, but we'll probably have some people watch the recording. By the way, our little person last week, she had a stroke a couple of weeks before that fall, and I knew, or they don't know exactly when, but before her fall, and I knew something was not really good with her. That would make sense. She had been falling a little bit, so she had some stitches. And as far as I know, she's all right. So we had a little last week in anger management was a little bit crazy. Yeah. Oh, you were here too, weren't you? Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I want to tell you is, luckily for you guys right now, with anger management class and what I teach, we simply have anger management. Okay. Now, if any of you guys are in the court system with Judge Thomas, he has now decided to add something. So you guys probably will be finished with this before this starts. But anytime there's a domestic violence case, he is going to ask that people complete a domestic violence offenders program. And so we are right now being trained to do that. So that's going to be a little bit different than anger management. It's going to be anger management as well as a domestic violence offender program. So I know that you might be thinking, I don't know, this is the first thought that comes to my mind is, I was not an offender, but I definitely had to defend myself, And unfortunately for males, looks like y'all are always the offenders because you're males, right? It does seem that way. Now, that's not the case always at all. But when it comes down to it, if you're in trouble and the police come out and somebody's arrested and you get arrested, maybe you're defending yourself too. Who knows? The charge is the charge, or it is what it is. So we have to go through these programs. So right now it's just anger management. But just so you know, and I want to say that live on here because I will have people come in to watch the recordings and they'll know. So that'll be starting up maybe in about a week or so. So hopefully we can get you guys through most of it until then. All right. So one of the things, as I was walking in the door, I'll pick on Amy. She's used to it, but she says, "Oh, I've got anger." She'll say, "Yeah, maybe I'm gonna try this class too." And one thing I know about Amy is I've really never seen her anger, and I've known her for a long time. There's Ian. Hey, Ian. Be sure you mute your volume unless you're saying something, Ian, and then you can unmute and then mute it back. Okay. Okay. So. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Is some people who really don't display a lot of anger are angry, and this is an issue. And I've got 4 points that I want to make about this. Now, we're not going to be talking about pushing anger away and it never showing itself. We're going to go there.
No, it's a feeling. You have to feel it just like you do every other one.
That's right. And there's a way to do it, and it's very simple. But right. But we got to go through some steps first and talk about where this comes from. So we're going to talk about.
If I'm jumping ahead, catch me. A lot of it's talking to myself.
We're making her kind of start over here. All right. Anger is universal and normal. Here's the problem. Anger suppression. Forgive my spelling. Sometimes I spell it. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I don't. But you know what I'm talking about. We're definitely not having any spelling tests in here.
Nope, and I can't spell words of crud, so
we're all right.
Be able to make it out.
Absolutely. All right. Okay. There's 4 major ill effects of suppressing anger. So, if you have anger problems, you have been suppressing anger. I would say some people explode when they're angry, and I would say some people suppress when they're angry. Suppress just means you push it away. You just push it away. You just carry on. You just go to the next thing and through the next thing and to the next thing. When in fact, everybody is suppressing anger, even if you explode with your anger. Okay? So that's the one thing you got to know, even with explosions. Why do we suppress anger? Why would it be universal that everybody suppresses anger and then it comes out in all the wrong ways? Do you know why? Okay.
Your brain can only take so much.
Well, that's a good answer. Early traumatic
Oh,
experiences. This basically means we were angry as a child
I'm shocked about. I was happy.
and learned how to survive it. Here's another word that
right
is
answers.
survive.
on the board.
That's another word you want to circle because that's a clear indication here of what we're dealing with today with anger. We're exploding at times because we're holding it in all the time. And we're holding it in all the time for many, 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 many years. And that would go way back to childhood. Okay? In childhood, if you are a child and you are angry, you become in survival mode because as a child, what can you do when things happen that hurt you, that cause you to get angry?
You don't say shit because it causes a bigger problem.
That's right. Or you're fighting to survive it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're exploding to survive it. So we're going to start out with this, and then we're going to lead into a few things that are going to be really important that you learn moving forward. Now, why do you think that we do so many classes and I'm always teaching things?
They go hand in hand if you actually pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have an answer? That's right. It's all relevant. Why is it that we have to learn about all this stuff?
Because I'm not my brain don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I can understand why I snap at my daughter who has no horse in the race.
To recognize self-awareness. So you cannot fix what you don't understand is wrong with you. Make sense? That's what all of the teaching is about. It's hoping that you can grasp onto something that makes sense, that you can begin to realize I can change that, because you can change it.
Mm-hmm.
If it were hopeless to change and get better and do better, what would the world be like? You know what I'm saying? Holy geez, we'd be in war every day, wouldn't we? There would be no classes like this because there'd be no hope. You'd just be done. You'd be sitting in jail. Everybody, right? There's enough people doing that.
No,
Right.
not necessarily.
Not
Because
enough
as
people.
a child, when I learned how to survive this, I learned how to be bad and be good at hiding it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hiding. Absolutely. Because you were scared to show it. And when you're scared, you're going to push it all in because you have to survive whatever's going on during the day.
You know what, Steve? What Dad and Marianne don't know?
What?
I went to school and I begged them to call somebody, and nobody ever came to my house.
No doubt. No
Because my
doubt.
grandma had moved out here. and I knew she would take me back in if something was to happen. At first, it was I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know you, ain't talking to you.
Yeah.
And once I found out, and that's one of my problems with DCS, that's why I get so ill with them.
Sure, that's why a lot of people
They
do,
pick
because it
on
brings all
people.
that back again. Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
They pick on
of what
people.
you've already been through. Now
But
you're
they
going back
pick on
again.
people who don't really need to be picked on. There's more important things out there.
You think so? DCS does? You think DCS does?
Yeah. Like, I think they put their focus on the people that are actually trying and make it harder on them than they do focus on these people who are just riding it out to get them off their back.
You mean just the people who don't get caught?
Or that, but there's people that do, and then here they are. Like, my problem with group classes, like I told you before, was sitting around a bunch of fake people who weren't there for the right reasons, who were only there to ride it out, get everything off their back, and then go right back to the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you hear principles before personalities,
Mm-hmm.
because your focus can't be on anybody else. Even when we're here talking about anger management, your focus can't be on all the people who do things that cause you, that you choose to respond to, right? You could say, well, I don't need to be in anger management class. So-and-so freaking needs to be in anger management class. So-and-so needs to be in anger management, not me. But yet you've had an incident with them, right? It riled you up.
Yeah.
Principles before personalities. You're focused on you and yourself getting better and not worried about the rest of the world, right? So you can sit by your neighbor who may or may not be doing the right thing, but you can do the right thing.
Yeah.
We don't have to let it get to us, Does
I
everybody?
learned that in the long run,
Yes.
but it still made me mad.
Yeah. we know it's coming out, isn't it? Now you were gonna say something. You're new, and I didn't get your name home, but you were gonna say something. Kyle.
See, I've had DCS on me for like 3 years now nonstop,
Ah.
and it's because the school apparently, and my children told me this is what they told them, that we had a single male father. Apparently, they don't like it here.
Oh.
And the last time I had DCS called on me because I didn't sign a paper by mistake for the first time. They sent DCS to my house for not signing a paper.
Something that has to do with a child's school.
Yeah, but it's for one that it's something you can hold DCS about anyway. Like I told them, I was like, hey, do I not have the right to refuse to sign it? Anyway.
Oh.
And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, then I don't understand how you're at my order for this. And of course, I cared about it. Like I said, I'm going to sign everything else, but
Right.
it's just silly to me that if this is the level they've gotten now, they'll call for it.
Right. I wonder what there was something underlying, or once you have DCS involved, it's easy to get them back involved when little,
It's been nonstop.
you know what I'm saying? It's like now, then it feels like they're looking for things. What we got to do first, and this is the reason we're here doing this, is to be very self-aware of what is it underlying. They don't just get involved in people's lives for no reason. They don't. There's got to be something. And we got to own what that is. Now, I don't know your situation at all, but I know they don't do it. Number one, there's not enough DCS workers, and you just don't even compare to the issues. You know what I'm saying? They're not trying to pick and choose and find stuff. I promise you that.
Most
Because
of them don't, but some do. My sister was DCS. She used to work there one of those things. She was loud now.
Mhm.
And then she'll tell you a lot of them will make
now it depends on the worker once they're involved. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what.
And that's just a difference in personality.
Yeah.
But the original involvement is what I'm talking about. The original involvement, there's something going on for them to actually open a case and get involved. That's what I mean. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Especially in one of those. That's why she left one of them.
Gotcha.
The office was so bad.
The officers.
No, the office.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
There's more. There's
You-
Brandy left too. Went to a factory job because she said that that's the worker that I had. You know what I'm talking about. She left too and went to a factory job because I ended up talking to her later on because it took so much time away from her family and a lot of it was a joke. There was more drama in the office than there was outside of it.
And you know what? That's a whole nother thing. I mean, it's not a whole nother thing. It's the same world. Like
Yeah.
you see, it's
Yeah.
like there's that office. Every office or a little community, it's the same sort of stuff you got going on. Meaning drama and frustration and anger and social skills and getting, you know what I'm saying? So when a DCS case opens, it has a lot to do with that particular person and what they've come from.
It can be. Yeah.
And then
See,
what
but I have
they
a
expect
question.
because of what, but that's human nature.
But I
It's
have a
human
question,
nature.
And I've asked you this before. I went to high school with Brandy.
Okay. Be
So when
careful
she-
about names. But I got you.
Well, when she got out of the car and walked up to the door, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh god. Because
She knew you in high school.
yeah, because as a child, you learn to hide to
Mhm.
survive.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so all these people think your
Mhm.
life is perfectly fine. You know what they don't know is those dark
Mhm.
things that happen to you, and now here they are at the door, and you have no reason, you have no option but to open up and let them in.
Mhm.
And so it's embarrassing.
Sure.
So for a small
Sure.
town, I guess what my question would be, for a small town like this, how is it fair that they can go based off your past as well? Because some of them will. Some of those workers that know you from this small town will come in and use your past.
Okay, I got an answer.
Okay.
Okay, so in an ideal world, let's say somebody has to be raised an hour away from here before they can work for DCS and discounted. Let's just say in an ideal world, right?
Uh-huh.
They have to, it's got to be checked out. They can't be here because if they grew up here, and I know small towns, I'm from Athens, Lord,
Yeah.
that's a mess of a small town too, you know. It happens in an ideal world. Unfortunately, life is unfair and we don't live in an ideal world.
Right.
Right now, they're having a hard time, just like anybody else, keeping people working and hiring people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right now, people aren't even finishing their college education because they're realizing so many jobs are more oriented towards technical things that you're able to do, robotics and all these different computer and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the issue, which is what we're gonna do about that. We can't be angry about it because it is what it is.
No, I mean,
We know that it's unfair.
yeah.
So
No,
we got
I
to
know
we,
that.
we can speak it, but we do have to let it go because if we don't, if we focus on things we can't control that aren't fair, then Lord have mercy, we're gonna be fighting everybody coming and going because that's just the way the world is, you know.
Mhm. But I guess that's where a lot of my anger comes from, is I don't trust the system.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
None.
Okay,
See, like I just got out of the hospital, my heart had stopped.
you just got out of the hospital?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, I was in the hospital for 17 days. My heart had quit,
Oh my gosh!
and
bless you.
while I'm there, I get a call from UCS saying that I need to sign over power of attorney so my mother could.
For medical reasons,
While I'm there, 'cause I can't do it from there.
right?
And I get out, I have 10 cases,
10.
and they're like, "What?" And the DCS worker herself even said, "It's like obviously someone's got it out for you." And it's been like that for 3.5 years. It's been nonstop. Nothing ever sticks. It's
Do you know who might have it out for you?
Uh,
No, you don't have to. But I'm just saying.
I'll
Okay.
say the school,
Yeah.
and also there's this officer who had an issue with my sister's boyfriend, to the point that he called he had my mother come pick me up to get him away from them, and he called DCS on me when I showed up.
Mhm.
Even though I wasn't there, it had nothing to do with whatever the heck was going on. They called on me for that.
Mhm.
And I'm just like,
Here's the thing: anybody can call DCS at any time for any reason about anybody,
that's what they tell me every time.
and they can. They can. Now, does that mean that DCS is going to open a case and pursue anything? No, because they can. That's not fair either, but they can, right?
Most of the
Yeah,
time
they
they're pretty
can.
reasonable
But if
to
you
me,
can
but-
prove them
Yeah.
wrong from the get-go,
Right.
they won't stay.
That's right. That's right. So once they open a case, they're going to come check it out to see if there's a reason to keep a case open, or they will close it immediately.
They'll tell you the
Okay.
longest they can keep a case open without going to their supervisor and reopen it. I don't care if the worker has it out for you. It's 3 months. That's it.
Well, no, I've never even had one. Luckily, that open. I mean, DCS
But that's what I'm saying.
DCS
That's the
has been fair to
longest.
me is the people calling it in for the most asinine things I've ever heard of.
Yes.
That's the issue.
Mhm.
DCS workers are fully, I'm fully compliant with them. They kind of just move right along.
Right. Here's the thing too. It's a free country. We have a right to raise our children like we want to. You know what I'm saying? And when you're saying the school or whatever, so it's like, what do you need to change? Because in essence, you do have a right to make choices and raise your child like you want to,
Being a male.
which you can't change that.
I mean,
Right.
They interrogate my daughter come home crying from school saying how horrible the guidance counselor will treat her until she agrees with whatever she says.
It's unfortunate.
And my
Now,
son told me how the principal had made multiple statements that he has an issue with a single male raising children.
gotcha.
They
Again,
Why-
make it so much harder for a single dad to raise his children than they will a single mother.
Yeah.
This is Monroe.
but again, if you whatever pass the test, meaning they get in there and they don't see any issues, but I know, and I'm anxious to do your assessment so we can figure out, I can hear the whole story, but they're looking at certain things that have to take place, certain things like the safety of a child, the basic needs being met, all those things. That's what they're looking for.
Well, like I said, they pulled them pretty quickly. It's just a
Yes.
headache of the constant boom, boom,
Sure.
boom, 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 boom.
So
That's
that now
how
they've got you
they
doing some anger management to clear up something so you can work on through. They're needing you to do some things, right?
And no, Max,
Mhm.
she needs anger management. I mean, more than, and I'm not the aggressor, or I guess is how they say it, but
Yes, because you're a male. Here you see it, right? Okay, I got you. So again, try to just focus on what you can do differently moving forward. Because in a place like this, I'm not going to ever tell you. I'm not telling anybody anybody's wrong or that can't be that way. Or you're just gonna get help. You're gonna get information. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I like to do some stuff, so it don't bother me at all. I mean, I'm happy to get what I can from it anyway. So.
Good. All right. So, and again, we'll talk about your situation. But so let's look at we got four issues here we're going to look at. Hopefully this will all make sense when we're talking about suppressing anger and how it comes out the wrong way. All right. So the first thing is this is a cause. This happens from anger, somatic issues. Somatic issues. This is going to be, I'll start with the worst case scenario, heart disease, headaches, stomach aches, body aches, there may be a few others. This is general stress on the body is what this means. This is awareness. This is, I don't mean to say this is a big word, but this word is utilized a lot in therapy because, so I want you to know what it is so you can be more aware of what's going on with you. Somatic issues, it's a diagnosis in your mental health. It means that something is going on with you, and it has what I'm talking about today a lot of suppressed anger. Okay, suppressed anger is happening, and you are having cancer. It's another one. You are having real life pain because you are suffering emotionally. That makes sense? You're having real life physical issues. So the somatic, if you can think about it as suffering emotionally, it causes these physical pains. Now, I want you to think about your very first time, if you can. Something that went on, not one incident that you broke a window or slammed the door or kicked the cat, whatever. But as a young person, something that happened, bless you, that brought on a lot of anger. Things switched and you became a really angry person and you start suppressing it to get through the day. Can you come up with something? For example, now there were in my mind when my dad left at 7 years old, my life changed. I was angry. I did not understand. They were together up until 7. And he left. And when he left, it was very traumatic. It was dramatic. You know what I'm saying? he takes off, and I want to go with him. I was daddy's girl. I'm going to go with him. He says, "You can't go with me. I don't have any place to live yet. I don't have any food." Right? So my mom's angry because I want to go with him. So she gets me in the car and we chase him around town to give me to him. You see, he don't want me because he can't take me. She's trying to get me. Now, clearly that was an anger between the two of them. Had nothing to do with me, really. But what does a child think's happening? Nobody wants me. Do you see what I'm saying, though? As a child, that's when mine started. Can you come up with when yours started? What happened? What happened? Can you come up with something? You know?
I was really mellow throughout my whole younger age, but when I was 17, my father was murdered. And that left me a kind of way for a little while. It took me a while to kind of pass as I blamed myself a little bit.
Because he was murdered?
Yeah.
Bless your heart. But how do you process that? I get you're just going through everything trying to figure out.
Part of it, me not being there, I blamed myself at first.
Okay.
You know, just different levels of trying to work it out my own way, I guess. And,
Yes.
It left me away for a while to like move past it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now, and so you got that happened at 17, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, here's something else I want you to think of, because mine happened at 7. Now, if I go back and I think more about, and this is being very self-aware, why did I want to go with my dad so bad? You know what I'm saying? My sister didn't. But I did. Why did I want to go with my dad so bad? So here's what happens now that I begin to recognize the trauma, and you may not come up with it right now, that there was physical and emotional abuse from mom. Make sense? That I was living with. Dad leaves. I'm stuck to survive it on my own now. You see what I'm saying? This is what the brain does. The brain has a way of making sure that you don't remember too much.
Is that like coping mechanism?
Yeah, because it's just too hard, and when you're not ready, it's really not a bad thing that your brain is able to do this. This is your most powerful muscle in your body, it's your brain. Okay, it can do all that you wouldn't even believe, and I could talk to you about what the brain's capable of. But it will push back memories, because if you're not able yet to deal with them, you, Lord have mercy, could kill you. You know what I'm saying? It could get you in a bad situation.
That's okay. Yeah. So, like my sisters have gone through different types of trauma in their lives.
Yes.
And I feel like there's a point that they need to go back and kind of try to get past it. 'Cause now it's to the point where they're letting it control their life, letting something in the past. Everybody to get healthy has to go back in their minds with a professional to process it. That's the only way. Like, you can't go back and think, I'm gonna get me some answers. By gosh, hell, I've tried that. I've tried to get answers from everybody, and I'm crazy. She's crazy. There's nobody owns anything, you know. You're crazy. Well, I'm for a reason. Anybody else raise their hand as to who did it? Right? No. But I'm just saying, that's why there's no other way to do it than process the past, which is why I can talk about it today. Hello. That's why I can talk to you today, because I have done it. And this is another reason why my anger is not explosive anymore. It's not explosive. I can actually talk through things. It's different. You know, a lot of things can happen, and it's very rare that I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. But that used to be all I ever did. You talk about the angry teenager throwing chairs in the wall, hitting, screaming, yelling, jumping up on the... I would jump up and land on my butt, and I just hurt myself. I'm going to get to a point there in just a minute, but angry. And then it carried on. I got to where I could manage it better, meaning hide it better, through the early 20s and 30s. And oh my Lord, you talk about, 3 stints in the hospital, arrested for domestic violence, all kinds of things that I had to go through because I was suppressing it, because I had to be appropriate, right? Yeah. And that everything I'm doing is just
trying to deal with it all the ways that I knew to deal with it without processing the trauma, without going there. You see, too hard to go there, but we have to. So, am I telling you, you're not going to get better unless you process your anger, unless you process the past trauma? I'm not telling you that, because being here and being self-aware and owning anything you have with yourself is huge. That is a huge start, because I was also in a place where I blamed everybody else. If they just leave me alone, I wouldn't get angry. If they do right, I wouldn't get mad. If the world would just treat people fair, I wouldn't get mad, right? And one of the first things you saw me right up here is life's unfair. It ain't gonna happen. We can't fix anybody but ourselves, you know? All right. So that's the first thing that I want to show you, the ill effects of not processing your anger. Suppressing would be the word, pushing it away. Did I get angry? Was I an angry person? Yes. It was because I kept pushing it away and it came out crazy, right? Okay. So I know it's really easy to think about all the other people that have anger problems. When I'm talking, like, so that's what they do. Try to focus on you. Try really hard to focus on you, you know? Okay. The second thing. Self-destructive behavior. When you suppress, this is what you have. So I gotta ask you. Feelings of self-hatred. Worthlessness. And this could be, that's what this is, it was depression. So let me tell you another red flag. So think about yourself when you were little. I don't know if anybody can relate to this or not, but probably, maybe. I have teenagers, little kids that come in, start seeing about 7, 8, 9 years old, that hate themselves. They will tell me I hate myself. Do you know how many times I've said that in my whole life? Starting very young, I hated myself. It's because whatever is going on, that's anger inside out. That's my anger towards myself. If I was suppressing it, where is it? It's in here. So what was I mad at originally? I was not mad at myself originally, but that's where I'm keeping it. So it's inside out. I'm turning it on myself. I hate myself. So I got kids that come in, they draw really dark drawings, and they tell me they hate themselves. And I ask them, do you want to live? No. Little. What's wrong with them? They have suppressed anger. It's not rocket science. They're angry kids. They're angry kids. Because of something that's going on with them in their past. Does that make sense? They're not just born that way. Now, this is for most people. This is your average person I'm talking about. There are diagnosed things that could cause some of this. Some autistic kids, by the way. You know, that's a little bit, there's some diagnoses that could be there that would be causing this. I'm talking about just your average general population. It has to do with the past trauma, and they're turning it inside out. So it's the hatred, okay? So if I ask you, if you remember, and I don't know who all in here has actually done that anger tree. Did anybody, if you did my anger tree? Yeah. Depression is always underlying. So the first thing that always happens when you get angry is going to be depression or anxiety, feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness. Those are the first feelings. Anger is the second thing you feel. Anger is never the first feeling. Anger is a result of what you're feeling. That makes sense? Then you feel angry because it's easier to feel anger. If we're feeling hopeless and worthless and we lash out, isn't that much easier than to actually feel the hopelessness that we feel and allow ourselves to feel it? Heck yeah, it is, right? It's much easier just to to go up over here and be sarcastic to somebody or punch somebody in the face or tell somebody off and walk out and slam the door than to feel anything on the inside that's really going on, right? All right, so the self-destructive behavior, self-sabotaging behavior is another huge issue with keeping anger suppressed. So even if you're an explosively angry person, you're suppressing your anger. That makes sense? Follow me? All right. The next thing. Avoidance behaviors. It was really interesting when I was working on this lesson. Now I teach anger in 10 to 25 different ways all the time, 250 different ways, whatever, so you can find a way that makes it easy to understand. If you have avoidance behaviors, it means you procrastinate. You just simply avoid things like, I don't know, going to the mailbox, whatever. That was one of mine, the phone, whatever it is you're avoiding. But procrastination, being late all the time. Lord, I'm talking about myself. Being late, avoiding behaviors. We have avoiding behaviors when we're suppressing anger. Why do we have avoiding behaviors when we're suppressing anger? Because we're afraid we're going to lose control of our anger. Make sense? It's almost like we try to live in a bubble and we only deal with as much of life as we want to. We in our bubble, our little world that exists over here, and we're going to stay over there as much as we can because the real world is hard. We want to avoid what's really going on and stay in our bubble, which is impossible to do. There's no such thing as that exists in the world, except in our mind, right? So if you're avoiding procrastinating, simply because avoidance behaviors is another way to suppress things and it's continuing to build up. Make sense? So when I was reading those little things like procrastination and being late, I'm like, what the heck does that have to do with anger? Like, no way. And I start thinking, you talk about a procrastinator. I've always been a procrastinator. Well, there you go. That makes sense, right? I'm putting off the fact that I'm going to have to deal with something that I'm not going to like, that's going to maybe hurt me or make life hard. Because what I know is I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. So I'm going to try not to go there best I can so I don't get mad. Then when I get into doing what I've been avoiding, it's like I'm pissed off quick. Because number one, I've avoided it so long. Now I got it all to do. Does that make sense? It has a lot to do with anger suppression. Take it back to number one, what you wrote. Anger has a lot to do with pain in your body, right? And disease. My sister one time told me, it's so interesting, and she really does. She's not any therapist, she's a school teacher. But she told me, she says she is a cancer survivor. So she's had a lot of reconstructive surgery and she does very well today. But while she was in the midst of the cancer, she lashed out at me one night and said, I'm the one that has cancer because of all the anger I suppressed. And I'm like, wow. Now I know how anger affects the body. Cancer, sure enough. It's almost like you hold it in. And your body is just, it affects your organs and it does. Somatic means, is that mine? Well, where is it? So I can turn it off. There it is. Somatic means it really doesn't make any sense. Is that, like, Can she say cancer happened because she was always the one that suppressed the anger? Like while I'm knocking holes in the wall, she's in her room. She's in her room with the door closed. You don't ever hear her. Now, I suppressed it too, and it came out all the wrong way. She suppressed it, and it stayed in, you know? And she's dealt with a lot of different physical health issues that I have not. I told her, yet. It's not over, right? I'm like, I don't know what she wants me to say, but no, I was definitely in trouble more than she was. But she ends up having to deal with like some serious disease. Now, I'll tell you the other thing. This is something else. And you think about this with your kids too. But I always had the leg ache right underneath my knee. I don't remember if it was the same leg or not. Always. I could not walk, let me tell you. And I was an athlete. And it always happened at night. I never could go and spend the night with anybody because how it's severe. Oh, my leg would hurt so bad I have to calm my leg. Literally, it would hurt. There was nothing wrong with my leg. We went to the doctors over and over and over again. My leg, what is wrong with her? It wasn't my leg. It was what was going on up here. And it manifests itself in pain behind my knee. Now, they call it growing pains. Whatever. Okay, growing pains. I don't have those pains anymore, but I had them forever, and there was really no good explanation for it. So what's going on at home? This is the kid that's constantly looking for the nurse, constantly got the headache, constantly got the stomach ache. They're always sick, always needing to go home. There's some suppressed stuff going on that's resulting in some worthlessness, hopelessness, depression, and it's causing pain in their body. Does that make sense? Now, clearly, ideally, you go to the doctor and you see what the heck's going on, right? Make sure you got to rule that out. But if there's no real medical reason, there you go. That's what's happening. The anger, it's manifesting itself. All right. So we got that one. Okay, this is also the reason we avoid and the reason we're suppressing again is because of perceived enemies. Perceived enemies. That's an interesting one. And a dangerous environment. This is a primal response, okay? Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this. Perceived enemies and dangerous environment. If I'm saying that and we're looking at life today, you're probably saying to me, well, I mean, okay, I guess I got some enemies. Is the environment I live in dangerous? Or is it dangerous here? Is the world that dangerous around me? Maybe, maybe not. What do you mean perceived enemies? People are following you with guns all the time? No, that's not happening. But as a young person in a big old world, you perceive danger. You feel danger is right around the corner all the time, okay? Because of that traumatic experience that you were raised with that happened. Does that make sense? You felt danger. You felt threatened. People were out to get you. If you were raised with somebody, poof, and they're gone out of your environment that was part of your daily life, and you don't understand why, that's threatening, right? The caretaker is gone. The person that's keeping me healthy and safe from the abuse is gone. I'm now living it by myself, right? And so I perceive enemies when I'm getting yelled and screamed at or hit, right? And it's real as a kid. Heck yeah. What do we do as a kid? We find a way to survive it, right? Today, as adults, we don't have to do that. That's not the life we live today, but we will act that way because of the life we lived. The primal instincts kick in, meaning the primitive way of life. They had guns, and you walk up on the porch, they probably going to shoot you because somebody coming to steal what you worked so hard for, right? Primitive bears, it's a constant. We're going to shoot them, kill them, because we're survival mode. Well, we were in survival mode back in the primitive days, right? We're trying to survive on Earth. We got to grow our own food. We don't have any money. Who makes money? You know, people who didn't have anything didn't know how to do it, they'd come take from other people. That was back in the old West. You know what I'm thinking about? You know, we don't live in that way today, but we act like it with displaying our anger today, that we're in that mode, but we're not. So our anger doesn't, we get so angry over something that's not even life threatening. That makes sense. But we're so angry because we think it's life threatening. It kicks something in our brain that takes us back. When we were, our life did feel threatened, right? That's that primal instinct. Okay. Hopefully you're starting to put some things together here, are you?
Mhm.
Okay. I did say 3, didn't I?
Yeah, that's the-
I get all my numbers. Okay. The 4th thing is we abuse ourselves. We abuse ourselves. I can't even read my writing. And others who would feel act out against us. This is where this is affecting your, it's affecting your life, because we have to be rational. Let's just say, if we're not rational with our anger and we go to work, because we got to go to work, because we got to make money, pay the bills, and our boss is going to be in a bad mood, say something that's not appropriate to us, we're going into that primal instinct survival, because we got anger issues. Not everybody does. Not everybody suppresses anger from a young age. Not everybody is abused and felt abandoned at a young age. But those of us who did, we're going to react quick, and we're going to get right back at them, because primal instinct kicks in, right? Survival mode. Guess what? Now we don't have a job. So it's like you have to recognize suppressing anger can cause life choices that are going to affect your ability to survive, right? Because now you've lost your job because you can't get along with the boss. You can't, maybe you don't even have, I can't even go there, but somebody I know is so much anger, okay? The last response that I got from this person was very angry text that had lost a job. Why is the person losing a job? Because they're so angry all the time. They can't get along with anybody. They cannot get along with anybody. And it's everybody else is the problem. If you're always thinking everybody else is the problem or the boss is the problem, well, okay, but who's paying the bills? Like, who's taking care of you, right? We got to work on. Now, I've left jobs because I didn't feel treated fairly, and it brought on some anger. That's better than getting fired or losing your mind and quitting without having another job. You do get to make those choices in a free country. You know, if something's getting to me every day, like, I can make a difference. I'm gonna find me another job. As soon as I get me another one, right, I'm gonna quit. You can do that. But if it's constant, what's the common denominator? You got to look at you, how it's affecting you, because you can only fix you. There's people in the world are bringing their anger out, right? For the same reasons I'm talking to you about. Meaning it's not personal toward you. It's their own issue that they've suppressed because of their own past. That makes sense? And we want to fight them because we're taking it personal. Uh-huh.
My brother is very impulsive,
Yes.
and so he had that exact problem all the time.
Yes.
For instances, well, if they wouldn't do this, and I wouldn't have done that, I'm like, you're grown now.
Yeah. Right. Right.
He's very impulsive, though. You
Absolutely.
don't stop to think, he just instantly.
Absolutely. And this is where no one can push my buttons unless I let them. Yeah, they can push your buttons all day long, but you don't have to react to it. You do not have to. They don't, when you react, they win. And you're in trouble. Now, here we got another problem. Right? You can pick and choose the people that you're around or how long you're around them today. We weren't able to back when we were little. We stuck, and then it was fight or flight. That's that primal instinct, fight or flight. Okay. So the one thing I want to talk about that affects your life. Now, this is a problem when we allow ourselves to become the victim all the time, blaming others. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be in this shape. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have done it. If they'd have just left me alone, if they'd just shut up, if they weren't using drugs or alcohol and come in after work mad all the time, if they had a different job, they wouldn't be this way. When we start doing this, we are not owning our issue. And then we get worse. Because we get so caught up in this. Blaming everybody else's fault. I wouldn't have done it if such and such. I wouldn't have done it if such and such, right? Then we just get more and more pissed off. You've got to own your stuff. Hey, you could have some suppressed anger and it don't be all that bad, but you react out and you get caught up in a bad place, right? And now you got some sort of charge, or now you got something going on. Okay? Own it, get better, life goes on. We're going to move past this, life's going to go on. We're going to get better, though, because we know we don't want to be there again, right? What can I do to make sure that situation doesn't happen again? And what I did to make sure that situation didn't happen again, because I did not like going to jail, did not like getting arrested for domestic violence, and I'm a victim. I was, but I was also taking up for myself. I clearly had anger problems, right? I had to recognize that that person that I was with was toxic, and I could not control myself around that person. If that's what I came to recognize and understand, I got to get away and stay on, or I'm going to go back to jail. You hear what I'm saying? And what I'm doing that whole time is trying to fix and change them so it can work. Well, you can't fix or change anybody but you. You've got to accept the rest of the world just the way that it is. Fair, unfair, whatever it is what it is. The people that come at you with anger, they got their own stuff. So you don't have to react to them. They're already hurting themselves, self-sabotaging. They got issues. Right? But they're not paying the bills. You've got to take care of you. Make sure you don't put your children through any more stuff that you may have gone through. You see? But that's taking care of your own anger. Oh, yeah. Sarcasm. Of course, we already know the fighting and screaming and yelling and throwing and all that kind of stuff. So, now, this is the end of this right here, the very last thing I'm going to tell you. And we could go on forever, and we will if we need to. How do we let our anger out? How do we get it out that's appropriate? Because I've sat here for 45 minutes talking about how you cannot suppress it, how you've been suppressing it. How do I get it out? You feel it? Okay, yeah, that makes sense, Heidi. Yeah, I feel it when I'm busting that wall down or busting somebody's head or getting in that car and road raging. I'm letting myself feel it, right? What if you need help? What if you need help with something? How would somebody know that you needed help? What would rationally you do if you needed help? What would you do?
Vent.
Huh?
Vent.
Not vent. If you just needed help in general with something. You ask for help. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if I'm telling you have to feel anger, you say, I feel threatened right now, so I'm going to walk off so that I can take some breaths and get myself under control, and then maybe we can talk in about 10 minutes. You simply speak your truth. What sense does it make for an adult when I feel threatened or when I feel angry to walk over there and hit the wall or to cuss somebody out? When I'm telling you to feel it appropriately, why would you not just tell them how you feel? The kids are going to do that. They're going to do that. They're going to act out. They don't know. They're not ready to be able to process it. They don't understand. That's why we're doing this class today, so that we can understand. What's wrong with I feel statements? I feel. You're stating how you feel. I feel really angry right now. Here's the thing I did. I went to a school years ago. I was a very angry person, remember? And I was also a counselor. And I had just started, and a comment was made about me. She's a counselor, Heidi Abels. Because I had so many issues, right? Well, a comment got back to me, so I marched myself into the school. I could do that because my dad happened to be the principal. And this was many, many years ago, too. So just so you know how I did that. I told that, I opened the door and I said, you need to come out here right now. This teacher was teaching. You need to come out here right now. She looked at me. She comes out the door. Everything all right, Heidi? Oh, no. No, it's not all right. Here's what I understand you said. I went off. Can I tell you? And I stomped my little self right back in my car and went to work. Now, I lived up to my reputation. She's crazy. That's all I got accomplished that day. Right? On more appropriate terms, if I wanted to go out there and talk to her as a rational adult, I could have found her planning time, called her, say, hey, do you have a second to meet me for lunch, or blah, 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 and explain to her how I felt. Because she owned what she said. She apologized. But what a crazy survival type nutty way to do it, right? As an adult with rationality. Hey, I'm sorry, but you got back to me. Da, 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 da. I feel very hurt by that. You know, I mean, you're not walking my shoes. You have no idea what I've done and been through. And I feel very, very betrayed and hurt because I thought we were close. Whatever she says is on her. However she deals with it, that's on her. But I'm doing the right thing as a grown man. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. We're finished with anger management today.
Thank you.
Hopefully you learned something today. Like I say, we can talk forever on how to appropriately feel anger, but it's pretty simple. Yeah. You just have to practice it. We just have to practice it. As we have to do everything when we learn something new. All right. Hope you have a good day. Be sure to get your notes to us, Ian, or anybody else who's watching the recording so that you get credit for today. Ian, if you have a chance to call into the office, I got something I want to tell you that you'll find interesting. It's not anything particular about your case. It's just something you'll enjoy hearing, okay? All right.